Good morning and welcome to everyone who is joining us remotely. This is the Cabinet meeting of the 17th of January, and we begin with apologies for absence. And I believe I'm right in saying, Karen, that we've got an apology from Councillor Patterson.
She can't be in the meeting though.
Good morning, Councillor Patterson.
Good morning, Leader.
Good morning. I think the rules are, Karen, I think, or Neil, that whilst we welcome Wendy, she is not able to vote if she's not here. Everyone has to be here in person.
That's correct, Chair. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So there we are, Wendy. It's nice to see you. And if you, you're more than welcome to make any comments, though, as we go along, as long as they're polite ones. Yes. Good. Okay. So the next one is the minutes of the meeting that we held last month. They're there for agreement, and I'll sign them at the end if everyone's happy. Can you tell me if you're happy with those? Proposed by Councillor Watson, seconded by Councillor Renner-Thompson. You're all happy with the minutes? Agreed. That's agreed. Thank you. We then move to disclosure of members' interests, and if there are any to declare now, could you do so? No? Okay, thank you. So we move on to the first agenda item, which is the Strategic Change Programme and the Strategic Change Business Case. Now, this went to Corporate Services Scrutiny meeting yesterday, and we had an extremely good discussion about that. I will draw members' attention to the note from Councillor Bourne, the chairman of that committee, with a number of points that were raised at that meeting. By introduction, this is a significantly large piece of work that the Council is undertaking because we are very keen to make sure that we deliver on our three main priorities, one of them being value for money. What we would like to do is to be able to continue to provide the level of services that our excellent staff provide across the county and across the range of services. But we want to look at how we might be able to do things differently and perhaps better. And for that reason, we are undertaking this significant piece of work, which will last up to 3 years, sorry. And within the papers, you'll see there are already indications of the potential savings that may be made by doing things differently. The figures show that for the total cost of the consultants over 3 years of around 9 million, we will aim to make a minimum of £17 million per year on a perpetual basis, and it could be a lot more than that. I think we all are very much in the same page that we want to make sure that the council taxpayer, whose money this is, after all, receives the very best in terms of the service, reliability and efficiency that they would expect us to deliver. So without doing this very important piece of work, we can't be sure that we are doing everything as efficiently as we can. Now, there have been efforts in the past to look at this kind of transformation work, but none have really brought out any key differences and any key actions that have made a big difference. This is different. This is where we are bringing in specialists at a significant cost and working with an extremely good officer team led by Kelly Gardner who are taking this work incredibly seriously. But the point is that we can't do this without the buy-in of the staff as well. So there have been a lot of effort. There's been a lot of effort made to engage with staff since last summer about why we're doing this, about the importance of the staff in doing this work and how the organisation will benefit, but most importantly, the customer will as well. And you'll note that on page 2 of the report, we talk about putting the customer first, and that remains the key theme throughout all of this. And what we will need to do is to continue to feed back to members and involve residents so that they can have their say as well in this, and be careful to continue to benchmark and monitor performance as we go through this process. So that's pretty much it. The business case, they've got the 7 work streams, which the top one is around best services to customers, then value for money, how we actually buy our services, the best use of those things that we have in terms of the structure and the process of decision making, the best use of our assets, and these are the buildings, the playing fields, and all the other things. We need to be sure that we are providing the best service we can and the best value for money in those assets. And then technology, how we do our IT and our customer-facing services. And then, really importantly, how to make the most of the talent that we have. And we have a lot of talent within our workforce, and offering enough opportunities for them to progress up the ladder if they so wish to do. So that is pretty much where we are with this. There is a lot of detail around the strategic business case and indications of the potential efficiencies and savings within there for your information. And so I would turn then to the scrutiny report, which was, as I say, it lasted an hour and a half at least, this discussion on this paper. It was stressed that it's not about saving money only, it's about improving the services and providing value for money. Engagement was key to the success through consultations with the public, elected members and staff, and particularly frontline staff, who actually deliver the services that we provide every day, and getting their views as well. And then how we will be more innovative in future around dealing with problem issues and how data could be best used for that. And so at the end, the committee resolved to advise the Cabinet that it supported the recommendations contained in the report, subject to considerations of those issues above. So there we are. That's the paper. The recommendations are before you, which is that we approve the strategic change business case, and that Cabinet approve the mobilisation of the programme in line with the implementation timescales as set out in the strategic business case, i.e. February 23 to March 2025. And I would just add one other quick thing that also came up yesterday, which was around how do we align the work we're doing with this with the other changes that we're making to structures in the council. And it will be very much a continuation of the dialogue that we're having with our soon-to-be chief executive, and that will percolate through the new executive team that we will be recruiting to in the very near future. So it will be joined up, and I know that Dr. Patterson is very keen on improvement generally and how we do things, and she is fully aware of what we're doing here and supports it. So there we are. There are the recommendations. Are there any questions? Yes, Councillor Riddle.
Just a comment, Leader. I think there's an awful lot of work gone into this. I appreciate that, and very, thanks for that. One thing that did come through last night at the joint meeting with the parish councils was actually customer feedback and how we can capture it. And I think that this certainly, on page 21 about customer insights and whatnot, certainly goes a long way to getting us on the right foot. Because things like Fix My Street and things, which would be interactive, we just need to get it working. The other things, people want to know how to report dangerous things on the web, but also to be able to speak to someone. And I think, this is vital, and I do welcome it.
Thank you, John. I get that. Thank you. So if there are no other questions or queries, can I take you to the recommendations? Is there a proposal for those recommendations? Proposed by Councillor Riddle, seconded by Councillor Pojai. Are you all in favour? Please show. Thank you very much indeed. So that's paper A. We now move to the next paper, which we're actually just taking off the agenda for today, this is around the school transport review, and we'll come back to that one probably next month. That takes us through to the National Funding Formula and Schools Funding 23 to 24. And this is to update the Cabinet regarding the new funding formula and the implications for school funding for Northumberland, and some suggested actions within that paper for us to consider. I'm going to ask Councillor Guy Rayner-Thompson to present the paper.
Thank you, Chair. As you've set out, this is about the National Funding Formula and School Funding for 23-24. The recommendations are in line with what we've done in previous years, with the recommendation coming from Schools Forum that 0.25% of the funding from the schools block would transfer to the high needs block, which is a good thing, having consultation with our head teachers and school leaders across the county, and they feed into this process. The third recommendation is to give delegated authority to myself, the Deputy Leader and the Director of Children's Services to dish out the money when the final figures come through. However, this paper is slightly out of date, and we do now know the numbers that we're going to get from government, and it is good news. We're seeing a 5.6% increase in our schools block grant funding, and an 8.8% increase in our high needs funding, which is a net overall increase of about 9.4 million. And that doesn't include the extra support we've got, such as the 1.3 million for heating and utility bills within schools. So the support we're getting from government is quite substantial, and compared to historic times where Northumberland was quite low in the National School Funding League tables, we're now currently around middle of the table, which is a significant improvement, and that's followed through, and you'll have seen the increases in school builds and attainment levels that we're achieving.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions or queries on this particular one? No, I don't think so. So we have had a significant discussion around this with the Schools Forum, I understand, and they are supportive of the recommendations here. And I think if the Schools Forum like this idea, then I think it's something that we would want to support. And we are also very keen, of course, to make sure that we highlight the needs of our SEND pupils and treat them absolutely appropriately and individually to the very best that we can. And that does, of course, include the issue around the transportation of special needs children. Where we have no facility at the moment, we have to ask pupils to travel to the nearest one. And I know that our staff are working very hard as we speak on looking to see if they can find within mainstream schools accommodation, classrooms and so on that would be that would allow those pupils not to have to travel those distances. So I'm grateful to officers for doing that, and we are very much on the case on that one. So if there are no more questions or queries, the three recommendations are there before you. Would anyone like to propose? Proposed by Councillor Rayner-Thompson, seconded by Councillor Watson. Are you all in favour, please? That is unanimous. Thank you. The next one is the Drug and Alcohol Treatment and Recovery Service for Northumberland permission to tender. And we're going to turn the spotlight on to Councillor Wendy Patterson. Wendy, would you like to take us through this report? I hope it's not too bad weather up there, and that your roads are gritted and so on, and that you're keeping warm.
Thank you very much, Leader. Yes, looking forward to some gritting later on, hopefully. Drug and Alcohol Treatment and Recovery Service. NCC are required under the Health and Social Care Act 2012 to deliver a drug and alcohol treatment service funded via the Public Health Grant. The current service began delivery in 2017-18 and the contract ends in September 2023. It is provided via a partnership between CNTW, NHS Foundation Trust and the third sector organisations Turning Point and Changing Lives. It is proposed that the new contract length is 6.5 years and funded at 3,356,709 per annum, 21,818,608 in total across the entire contract length. There is a strong association between inequality and substance-related harm. The highest levels of alcohol and drug-related deaths in the UK occur in those areas of greatest neighbourhood deprivation. People who use drugs and alcohol problematically are often among the most vulnerable in society. They are more likely to be in poor health, die early, be a victim of crime, and be in temporary or unstable accommodation. The harmful use of drugs and alcohol has a far-reaching and often catastrophic impact upon the individual, local communities and wider society. Addiction is linked with the breakdown of relationships and families, increased criminal behaviour, loss of employment, and a range of health issues, including cancer, blood-borne viruses, and very poor mental health. It is estimated that the combined social and any economic cost, including lost productivity, crime and treatment as a result of drug and alcohol misuse, is 32.2 billion per year in the UK. Just a little bit of local information. The North East has the highest rate of drug and alcohol-related deaths in England. Though Northumberland has low rates when compared to other North East local authorities, we are still above the national average. Demand for drug and alcohol treatment in Northumberland has been increasing since 2018-19. Increased demand is linked to increased harmful use in our communities. Drug and alcohol treatment in Northumberland can be evidenced as preventing crime, improving health, and lowering the burden on other services, its benefits and individual and our communities. The link to the corporate plan, delivery of a drug and alcohol treatment and recovery service, supports the vision and aims of our corporate plan by tackling health inequalities within our communities and helping create economic growth for Northumberland. So the recommendations are, if our cabinet members agree, is to authorise to proceed with the commissioning service. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Wendy. Very full and thorough report. There are the recommendations. Are there any questions about this, please? No? Okay. So would anyone like to propose the recommendations? Councillor Poshai, and seconded by Councillor Horncastle. All in favour? Lovely. Thank you very much. Thank you, Wendy. The next one is around the notification of the estimated collection fund balances, 22 to 23. This is around where we are with the collection fund in relation to council tax and business rates for the year ending the 31st of March 2023. Richard.
Thank you. I think I'll reserve any comments until after the Chief Finance Officer's had the chance to talk a little bit about the report, because it is quite a technical one.
Right, there we are. Do we have Jan? We do. Good morning, Jan.
Good morning.
Would you like to just add any specific comments to this before I go back to Richard?
Yes, thank you, Leader. So this is a report which we bring every year at this time. We are required to calculate the collection fund balances for both council tax and business rates, and to declare either a surplus or a deficit in respect of both. And this is necessary in advance of council tax setting in February. So the report sets out the relevant position for council tax and for business rates, and how those are shared between the county council and the various preceptors. So the report declares a surplus for council tax, of £2.948 million and a deficit for business rates of £3.887 million. And in overall terms, the county council's share of those is a surplus of £792,000, and that is the figure that we will use when setting the council tax for 23-24. The report goes into further detail if members are interested in how all of the various numbers are made up in the appendices. But unless there are any questions, I don't propose to say anything further by way of introduction, Leader.
Thank you. Richard, do you want to come back?
Thank you, Leader. I mean, a very good summary there from Jan. Happy to obviously be reporting a surplus going into the budget year. This is something in terms of a report that comes to Cabinet every year, so there's nothing particularly exceptional or in some respects interesting about it, despite the very important nature of what it contains. So I'm happy to answer any questions or to be assisted by Jan.
Good, thank you very much. So yes, good news, showing that we have been very efficient in collecting those funds and they will be redistributed accordingly. Chair.
How do we compare with national figures for our collections? Do we still look pretty good? I know we've had a good record in the past.
Jan.
Over to Jan for hopefully an accurate answer compared to what I would be able to provide on this one.
Yes, our collection performance does compare very well with most other councils. There are very few that have higher collection rates than we do in Northumberland, and I think it's particularly pleasing that as we start to come out of the post-COVID era, that we don't have a significant overhang in terms of collection fund performance that we feared we might at one point. So hopefully, we will continue to be amongst the group of authorities with the highest collection rates nationally.
Good, that's nice to hear. Anything else from anyone else? No? Okay, so the recommendations are there, 4 of them. Can I have a proposer for those recommendations? Proposed by Councillor Watson, seconded by Councillor Wearmouth. All in favour? There we are. Thank you very much indeed. Now we move on to is an update on the devolution deal. Now this is the paper that takes us on to the next stage of the devolution deal. Now, we've been through well over a year of discussions with the other local authorities within the North East region that include Northumberland, Durham, Newcastle, North Tyneside, South Tyneside, Gateshead and Sunderland. Whilst we're all very different in political makeup, and also in our specific aims and wishes locally, regionally, we are very much all on the same page, that we want to see as much money devolved to us as we can for the benefit of a number of work streams, but mainly the general welfare and betterment of the people we represent. Now, compared to other combined mayoral authorities, the amount of money that we stand to get from this arrangement is much better. And we are, of course, already in a combined mayoral authority within the north of Tyne, and that includes Newcastle and North Tyneside. And I can say absolutely that devolution to those authorities is working well for all those authorities. We have seen significant funds come from the north of Tyne to Northumberland, and it has been very welcome to be part of a combination of leaders that have worked together on individual projects for their own particular areas. And working together has proved to me to be very easy. And we have had the mayoral input into decision making, which has not been draconian or difficult. And I don't see why that should change in a larger authority. So despite the real differences between us politically within those councils, there is that common aim, that common need, that common thread to pull us all together for the benefit of the region, to provide investment, jobs and better conditions for everyone within the area. So this paper is asking for us to move on to the next stage. And you will see that from the recommendations that, that there are a number of recommendations that I probably ought to just read out for the sake of the importance of these. So if I may, the recommendations are to endorse in principle the minded to devolution deal, agree with the findings of the governance review, which you have on Appendix A, namely that the proposed creation of a new mayoral combined authority for the North East region to replace the existing combined authorities will improve the exercise of statutory functions across the region, to agree that the North East Council shall publish a scheme for the delivery of these governance changes, the current draft of which scheme is attached in Appendix 1 in Annex B, agree that the North East Council shall undertake a public consultation in connection with the proposals contained in the scheme as described in section 8.3 and 8.4. And of course, it's worth noting that both the major political parties had it clear in their manifestos at the general election that they would want to see devolved authorities created. And of course, that was the first way to engage with the public, the whole idea of devolved authorities, and make it quite clear that that's what governments want us to do. So we will actually be very thorough in the consultation exercise that we're undertaking. We're looking now at the exact dates, but they will be from probably around the middle of February to probably around the middle of March. And we will want to see all members briefed fully on this. We'll want to see local people having every opportunity they can to have their say. And that's probably going to be around either special meetings of the local area councils or additions to the agendas of local area councils that will allow people locally to those councils to have their say. All of that consultation will not be in vain. It will be used as we move into the next stage. So it's very important that people not only understand what this is about, because it is incredibly complex, but essentially the bottom line is we will be getting a lot of money and more devolved powers for Northumberland and for the region. So that's around the consultation. Then we agree that the Chief Executive, in consultation with the Leader of the Council, should be authorised to take all necessary steps to implement the above proposals, including but not limited to making amendments to the draft scheme and the consultation exercise. And finally, to note that the further report excuse me, will be brought to Cabinet at the end of that consultation exercise. And of course, exempt from the decision from the call-in process pursuant to the overview scrutiny rules of procedure part 5.4 of the Constitution of the Council on the basis that the decision Cabinet is being asked to make, again, excuse me, is urgent. So this is exactly the same report that all the other constituent councils will be taking to their cabinets in the very near future. I'm right in saying.
Newcastle accepted it yesterday, as did whichever other one met yesterday, yeah. North Tyneside.
Right.
The Cabinet's approved it, Leader.
Okay, so there we are. There's two that have already been through the Cabinet. And as I say, it's exactly the same paper, I understand.
It's exactly the same report, except the report for Durham has a couple of extra paragraphs relating to Durham's decision not to proceed with a county deal, which was not on offer from government, but to join the LA6 to make an LA7.
Right.
Otherwise, they're exactly identical subject to different formats, different authorities.
Okay, so we're currently looking at diaries to try and get this consultation programme. Yes.
Yes, Leader. We've set the consultation will start on the 23rd of this month. There will be an online consultation, as the Leader said, which will be common across all authorities, and then it's for authorities then to decide which actually we're going to do, and we're going to do a lot. That will be an 8-week period, has now been determined, of consultation.
Right.
So there's a lot of consultation opportunities for us, Leader. And then after that, we put the results of that together and bring that back in a further Cabinet report as the next stage.
Good. Okay, thank you. So there are the recommendations. Are there any questions or queries? No? Everyone happy with where we are? All right then. Is there a proposer, please? I'll propose, and seconded by Councillor Wearmouth. Are you all in favour, please? Thank you very much indeed. That's excellent. We then move on to delegated decisions. This is to report on the following delegated decisions by the Executive Director of Finance with the portfolio holder. So what have you been agreeing to, Richard? So the first one is around the fibre, the Northumberland business case, which is to approve the business case to award a contract for the provision of Northumberland County Council's wide area network. Tell us what a wide area network is, please.
It's part of our internet connectivity for the County Council, its buildings and some of our schools. So I don't know if Chris Thompson's here today. I don't think he is. He would be able to give you significally more detail than I am. But it's good news for the county. Yep. It'll mean that we can get lots more schools, lots more of our buildings up and running on very high speed broadband connections, and it will open up all sorts of opportunities for the wider network as well. So lots to be gone at, and people will see more in due course through our comms team in terms of what the potential is to engage with it.
And so linked to that presumably is the second one, which is the decision to award the wide area network, the one contract to Comms World Limited.
Yes, it is indeed. It's one consent piece.
Are there any questions of a technical nature that anyone would like to ask to an officer, or are we clear on this? Okay, so if we're clear on it, could I have a proposer, please? Seconded by proposed by Councillor Wearmouth, seconded by Councillor Watson. Are you all in favour, please? That's good. Thank you very much. And then we have the delegated decision of the taken by the Interim Chief Executive in consultation with me, which has been taken in accordance with the Council's Finance and Contract Procedure Rules, which is the use of Adult Social Care Discharge Fund. And then this is spending from the Adult Social Care Discharge Fund in line with the plans that are set out in the report. And you can see that the report lays out what we decided and why we did. Are there any questions on this? Or are you all happy? So if you're happy, the recommendations are there, proposed by Councillor Wearmouth and seconded by Councillor Renner-Thompson. Are you all in favour? Please show. Lovely. Thank you very much indeed. And that takes us to the final report of the open session. We now have to move into excluding the press and public because of specific reasons. There is a motion. Would somebody like to put that motion? Proposed by Councillor Renner-Thompson, seconded by Councillor Horncastle. All in favour, please show. Right, so therefore can we